They were trying to get me to figure out. I knew they were trying to get me to know something.
Grandpa is 250 years old. At least. More like 500. Or...
Hello everybody, welcome back to FishMoney. I am Brandon, and with myself I have...
I'm Haley. I am a friend of these guys.
I am Mason. And this is my lovely wife. What's your name, lovely wife?
My name is Carmela.
So today we're talking about Haley's favorite movie. In fact, Haley, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is The Princess Bride.
So that came out in 1987. It's based on a really, really thick book by William Goldman.
It's a great book.
Haley's read the book. I own the book. You borrowed my copy.
I did.
But I've never read it myself. This is like my second time seeing the movie. But we just watched it, so we're just going to jump right in. Does anybody have any opening thoughts on The Princess Bride?
Buttercup's a weird name for a protagonist.
True. Buttercup is a weird name for a protagonist. Is that a good thing, a bad thing, or just undecided?
It just catches your attention.
Yeah, I think Buttercup... Well, no, the other names don't really do this. I mean, we have Humperdinky, that's weird. But Buttercup definitely plays off of the weirdness of fairy tale names.
Yes.
So that's kind of satirical. Also, I noticed that Buttercup has a super blazing fast character arc right there at the beginning.
Right.
Yes.
She is a jerk.
Does.
She's mean.
So many of the characters are jerks. I didn't realize how many of them were jerks.
They're all kind of jerks in their own way.
Yeah.
Everyone's sarcastic. And
That's why we like it, though.
as someone who's very sarcastic.
What about Fezzik? He's just a giant
True.
full of
Fezzik
rhymes
is not
and
a jerk.
positivity.
True. He's the only
He's
one.
a gentle giant.
Right.
Yes, he's literally a gentle giant.
Yep.
So aside from Buttercup being a weird name, what are something that we like about The Princess Bride?
It's so full of everything. It has lots of random stuff in it. There's romance, there's adventure, there's...
fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles.
So yeah, it's just a great movie.
In the middle of all that stuff, they still find time to make jokes. Like, they obviously have a theme that they're dealing with, but they're still being really funny with it the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
But you never lose sight of, like, their goal throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, they never take themselves too seriously.
Right.
And that's part of the reason it's timeless.
I mean, also, from a filmmaking perspective, it's all practical effects.
Yeah.
Oh.
Even the giant rats are just guys running around on all fours.
No, they're actual giant rats.
ROUSs.
It took a long time to catch them all. Even longer to train them.
They only needed 2. It was fine.
There was one scene where there were 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Sorry, my eyeballs were killing me the whole time. I couldn't see anything.
Take care of your
Yeah.
eyes, Brandon.
I'm trying.
I think another one of the reasons that it's lasted so long is that it is really quotable.
Yes.
Oh, my.
Haley can tell you.
So quotable. I was talking to a friend the other night, and we were like, we don't think that there is a situation in life that does not have a Princess Bride quote that fits it somehow.
Mason and Edit each need to start doing this segment. Just throw out random,
Yeah.
Random
memes,
quotes.
random gifs
What?
and memes.
What's your favorite quote from the movie?
True.
My favorite quote,
Ooh, I don't mind.
it's so hard to pick a favorite. The one I probably quote the most is, which we realized as we watched today that we've been quoting it wrong all this
Yes,
time.
Mandela effect.
He says, life is pain, Highness. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. We always thought it said, life is pain, Princess, but it's not Princess. It's Highness.
Classic Mandela effect. I love when the grandpa tells the kid to shut up. 'Cause he keeps saying it wrong.
Is that your favorite quote?
You're very smart. Shut up. Oh, yeah. Is that your favorite one?
Yes.
Brandon's favorite
I
quote.
just- Very
The
smart.
grandpa says,
I just
shut up.
want that in my brain for anytime someone's being a little too big for their britches.
Because the whole quote is actually,
Yeah.
yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
It's like John Mulaney's quote, just because you're right doesn't mean you're interesting.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, that's a good quote.
Carmela, what is your favorite quote?
I don't know. They're all so good. I wish I would have written it down. I don't know the quotes as well as everyone else.
Oh, another really good one is, Inigo's like, please, I must know. And
yes!
Wesley, which you don't know he's Wesley at that point, but Wesley says...
I like that one, actually. That one's pretty high.
And Inigo goes, okay.
Yeah, it's so full of pithy one-liners. Let us know what your favorite line is in the comments below. So,
That'd be great.
So
Yes.
we can all laugh about them together.
Yes.
I'd probably pick something that Vicini says. He says a lot of really funny things. And his,
Very loudly.
yes, his actor really steps it up a notch. It wouldn't be near as funny if he wasn't the one saying them.
Wasn't so over the top.
Which, do you know that guy almost wasn't Vicini and didn't think that he was qualified to be Vicini?
I
He's so
think he's
awesome.
Very qualified.
I don't know your name, sir. But if you ever-
Inconceivable.
Wallace Shawn.
If you see
Yes.
this video, you are amazing.
Okay, so you said something about theme earlier. You said they
Yes.
have all this joking going on, but they still obviously are pursuing a theme.
Yes.
What is that theme?
I don't.
Marriage.
You took all these notes.
I
Is
know.
it marriage?
It's so that I don't forget.
Marriage is what brings
It's so
us
that I don't
together
forget what's happening.
today.
I would say it's obviously something about true love, but I don't know
What is the
what the rest of the
trying to
statement
figure out what the rest of that
is.
sentence is.
I think the sentence would probably be that true love wins in the end,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, another favorite quote, Wesley says, death can't stop true love, it only delays it a little.
Yeah.
I think that is the thesis statement of the movie.
Yeah, that is kind of the whole...
Because he literally
Plot
dies,
stuff,
and
yeah.
then
mostly.
he mostly
Mostly
dies.
dead.
He's only mostly dead.
Yes, and
There's a big difference.
because of true love, he comes back. By the way, if you're hoping that we're putting in clips of this movie, we're not, because I'm afraid
Copyright
of YouTube.
laws.
It's difficult. There are ways around it, but it's difficult.
Just
But
So,
if you have not
watch
seen
the
The Princess
movie.
Bride, you need to watch it.
Email me. I'll send you our CD.
no.
It's a DVD. though.
It's a CD. Is a DVD not a CD?
No.
Is it not?
No. A
Well-
DVD's way bigger.
I was born in '96. What do I know?
I was born in
He's,
93.
he's the resident Gen Z.
Yeah. He's the baby.
A CD does not have visual.
Okay.
Moving
Anyway.
on. Moving on. So the main theme of the movie is true love. True love
Right.
wins in the end.
Yes.
No matter what, nothing can stop it, even being mostly dead.
Do you think that's true?
That true love wins it.
Yeah.
Define true love.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, how's it depicted in the movie? Like, Buttercup and Wesley?
It's a pretty typical movie romance.
Right.
Where like they met when they were younger,
Yes.
started to like each other, were separated for years, and then just kept
Right.
for some reason somehow
Right.
that same emotional feeling. So when they got back together, they reunited. They just kind of picked up where they left off as if nothing had happened,
And they
Yeah.
don't love anyone else. They have no interest in anyone else ever at all.
which
At any point.
is weird and I think is kind of childish of them. But
Right.
for the sake
Yeah.
of a story and a movie,
Right.
I'm willing to let it slide.
Yeah, we love the optimism that it brings, but
Yes.
that doesn't always transfer to real life.
Right,
Right.
but that's like the only, I mean, not the only because it's like super fictional, but there's so many things that they go through that aren't in a typical fairy tale story that even though true love wins in the end, there are all of these obstacles before Wesley and Buttercup finally are together,
Right.
which is very different than your typical like true love story thing.
Yeah. Anyway, Wesley's not your typical prince anyway. He's
No, he's
Not-
a
not.
legit pirate.
He's a pirate.
He's a farm boy.
He's
and
an
a pirate.
honorable pirate, but he's a
Yeah.
pirate.
Well, his line of "as you wish" is very romantic, like inherently romantic. Like whatever you want,
Yeah.
I will do for you. Like that's a very godly type of love.
Yes.
Right.
And so I have to, props for William
Yeah.
Goldman for that, because
Yeah.
that's devotion.
And also, like, death cannot stop true love, it only delays it a little. this is very reminiscent of the gospel,
Yes.
which is interesting.
Yes.
You can kind of find it in a lot of different...
He does definitely die and come back.
Yes.
And is, you know...
He ends up being the one who saves everybody in the story.
Wesley is a Christ figure.
But like,
What?
it takes
We
some.
should talk about Christ figures.
Okay, also,
at some
yes,
point.
I'm
Like,
not...
just
I'm
as
not
an
saying...
episode.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Wesley is like Christ. I'm saying that Wesley is a loose representation of Christ.
Yeah, like
in
he's
the
a
story.
He's a good character who dies, comes back, and doing that
And-
ends up saving everyone.
Right, and lots of
Yes.
stories have these. Like Gandalf is a Christ figure.
Yes.
Like
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
For
Gandalf.
me, it's been out for 20 years.
Gandalf dies.
We're giving all kinds of
Like,
spoilers to the Princess Bride, too.
That
So
movie's
put a
been
warning
out
at the
for
beginning.
33 years.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
The movie's been around longer than 3 of us on this couch.
Thanks.
I wasn't saying who.
Side note: Brandon's rude.
They already know. If they're watching episode 2, they already know. They already know.
Right, because you were going to say who, you just looked right at me.
Well, you're sitting right next to me and you looked at me. It's all your fault.
Haley is the wisest one here.
Oh, that's a really nice way of putting it.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to talk about let's just try to go through the movie and not skip.
Okay,
The first
okay.
thing that I noticed is Buttercup is mean, but then we go back through. And when Wesley has to fight through the gauntlet of, ne'er-do-wells.
Of Inigo
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Fezzik.
The hired people.
Yeah, it's
Inigo,
cool
Fezzik,
because
and
that
Zini.
establishes
Mercenaries.
his character as being great. It's
Yes.
the same thing. This establishes
Well,
him as
and it establishes the sportsmanship and the morality of Inigo and Fezzik themselves.
Right.
Because
They're like,
they want a good sportsmanship. They have good sportsmanship. Inigo could just let him fall and die, but no, it's like, let me help you up. No. Let's chill for 5 minutes while you catch your breath. And then when Vicini tells Fezzik just to throw a rocket at the Man in Black's head, he's like, that's not very. My way's not very sportsmanlike. Is his
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he warns him and says, like, man, I could just throw this rocket and kill you, but let's go.
yeah,
Right.
they're like misplaced mercenaries. Like they're not in the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you can tell that they are not the cutthroat people. Vicini is the one that's like,
Murder.
he doesn't
everyone.
care who gets hurt, he doesn't care what happens.
Right.
Kill everybody.
He's out to do the same.
All three of them are foils for Wesley.
Yes.
I'm remembering all of the literary criticism language from high
Yes.
school. So they're climbing the rope, and Fezzik is climbing the rope, so he's strong.
Yes.
But Wesley, or the Dread Pirate Roberts, catches up to Fezzik. He is stronger.
Yeah.
And then Inigo is skilled because, he's a great sword fighter. But Wesley beats him. He's more skilled. And Vicini is intelligent and he's the mastermind, but Wesley outsmarts him. He's smarter. than
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's unstoppable by the time that him and Buttercup meet up again.
Right.
The next thing that happens is they
The
are
fire
disillusioned with each other,
Yes.
Yes.
which is a whole arc.
They have a little spat.
Yeah.
Which is probably the weirdest part because he knows who he is and who she is.
Yes.
But they're both being jerks.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So, but
Relentless.
So she
Lisa.
thinks that he's a pirate, so she's being mean to him. He feels
That makes
betrayed
sense.
because he thinks that she willingly went to marry Humperdinck.
Right.
Right. And he's also like they're arguing, but he's being unreasonable because it's been 5 years, and he says something like, "Did you wait
A few hours or a week?"
Yeah, a few hours or a week, and it's
Right.
like, excuse me, it's been 5 years, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's been thinking about it and stewing on it for 5 years, like
Yes.
a baby.
And so that's another one of those elements where they're having this fight, and they're each other's true love, but it's not like super perfect, and he didn't just like reveal himself and everything went great.
Ooh, and it's at this time that we get the line, "Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who tells you different is selling something."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Wesley believes that through all of the movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
True.
Maybe he does. But I thought that placing that line there where he's still disillusioned with her, maybe.
Right. That makes sense. One thing that I noticed, this is backing up a little bit because it's going back to Vicini and Fezzik and Inigo, but Vicini controls Fezzik and Inigo through fear and by reminding them of where they were when he found them.
Yeah. Straight up.
And so
abuse.
that's how he's keeping them working for him and doing his dirty work, is by being like, hey, when I found you, you were drunk and no good, and you were, you didn't have a job, you weren't worth anything. And I think that is very similar to how Satan sometimes tries to control us.
Yeah.
Through fear, through reminding us of our past or our own worthlessness. And so seeing that in Vicini, his control over Fezzik and Inigo.
Yeah.
It is cool. They build each other's morale after Vicini has attacked them by doing rhymes. So Inigo walks up to Fezzik and gives him a first line, and then Fezzik gives him a rhyme. And they do this 2 or 3 times in that moment after Vicini has yelled at both of them. And then Vicini, tells them to stop, but they just kind of keep going. But it's their way of bonding. That's a community thing. So, you've been attacked, and you've been reminded of bad things, but, hey, we're friends. Let me build you up. Let me encourage you.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of funny and neat that they do that.
It's really endearing as characters. I think the reason that we like the supporting cast so much is because they spend time establishing Inigo and Fezzik's friendship, and
Yes.
they make
Very quickly, but they do enough to let you know. Oh,
They're good friends.
and even when Fezzik shows up when Inigo is drunk in the later part of the movie, I think he makes a rhyme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he does.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that the other times I watched this.
Yeah.
and so then story-wise, we get the reveal that Roberts is Wesley, which is pivotal for Buttercup. She's like, oh.
You're alive. After she
She
pushes him
pushes him down the hill.
She pushes him down. She tells him to die and pushes him down
Yeah.
the hill, and that's as you wish, and then she knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that reveal is pivotal, and then they end up running into the fire swamp,
Yes.
which is a bunch of
yes.
visual gags, and
Yes.
it's like a stand-up routine.
Yes. Well, and the
It's
line before
great.
they go in, she's like, "We'll never survive," and he's like, "You're only saying that because no one ever has." And there's another, because their whole true love thing, they were saying how rare it is,
Right.
and then they go into the fire swamp, and there's their optimism again. Now that they're back together, here's their grand
Yes.
accomplishment thing going
Yeah.
on.
Have you guys noticed how, I don't know how it is in the book, but in the movie, everything that's named is either really mysterious and epic sounding or kind of silly. So we have
Yes.
the Cliffs of Insanity,
Right.
and then the Fire Swamp.
Right.
But then we have Rats of
R-U-S.
Rodents of unusual size, and the
Yes.
lightning sand.
Yeah,
Yes.
Lightning
Yes.
Sand. And
Not
the
quicksand, lightning
it's
sand.
that
Right,
fast.
the Brute Squad.
Right.
Yes.
Instead of I don't know what else you would come up with,
I
but the
don't
Brute
know.
Squad really.
You are the Brute Squad.
Yes.
It's
That's probably
very-
the most modern exchange, the most
Yeah.
modern language and exchange in the movie.
Yeah.
In that scene.
Yeah.
So anyway, the language is so romantic, and that gets toward you thinking, this is really nostalgic, even though I've never seen it before.
Yes. Yeah, it does lend itself to that.
Fire Swamp.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yes.
they escape the fire swamp, and right away they are found by Humperdinck and
Count Rugen.
Count Rugen, and at this point, Buttercup makes a sacrifice
Yes.
for the relationship. She does something that benefits Wesley for what is the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
she goes back to this relationship and this marriage with Humperdinck just so that Wesley can go free.
So that he
Right.
will live through that exchange.
Later she reveals that she trusts and assumes and hopes that he's going to come save her. But at this point, she's still sacrificing short term for a long term goal.
She
for
recognized that
his
she
good.
was going to be
Yeah.
killed
Yes.
if she didn't.
Yes.
And so she gives up what she wants for his good. Even though it ends up not exactly being that way because,
Yeah.
you know, the prince and the count are not honorable men.
It works out better than it would have otherwise.
Right.
So
Better than getting
It
shot
gives
by
them
us.
another
the
chance.
only hope that there was there.
Yep, I counted 3 crossbows. That's more than enough.
Yes, they were surrounded.
Yeah.
Although for 2 of the 3 of them, the princess was right in the way. Like she was right in the way.
True.
Yeah, but he didn't really care if she was alive.
Are
But
those-
I guess there would have been
True, Humperdinck
witnesses.
didn't care.
There would have been witnesses, so it wouldn't have finished his plan. So she should.
Well, except that if she got accidentally caught in the crossfire, he can
Oh,
say,
yeah.
she got
Those-
accidentally caught in the crossfire.
But then he's not married and he's still not king.
But he
True.
wasn't trying. That's not why he was doing that.
It was never quite clear why it was that he felt strongly about marrying
Yeah.
her before killing her.
No, because she was supposed to die when Vicini captured her. He hired Vicini, so that, to
right.
start the war
Oh, yeah,
with
just- you wanna start-
Gilder.
But at that point,
That was about starting the war.
No,
Yeah.
listen. He
as king, he would have been able to just start the war.
Yes.
Oh.
So he hired her to start the war, but they were also tracking those people.
Right.
So I don't know if he's like 900 IQ, like
Like 3 steps ahead of himself.
he hired the assassins to capture the princess, which he would save, then marry, then assassinate himself. Like
Yeah,
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, he wanted to fight the people of Gilder.
Yes.
And was using
Yes.
Buttercup as a means to that end.
Right.
But regardless, she's rescued.
Because she's not a princess. He just picked a commoner.
Yeah.
Right.
He just picked a random person,
"She's
basically.
not so common anymore," he says.
That is what he says.
Yeah.
So then they end up taking Mr. Wesley to the pit of despair. Also, pit of
Yes.
despair. There's another one.
Yes.
Yeah.
How dramatic.
Of
Epic.
despair.
So dramatic.
Yeah.
Very dramatic.
When the grandpa says, "Where were we?" Oh yes, in the pit of despair.
2020.
What do you guys think of the life sucking machine? Is there something to that? Because
That was interesting.
that's so metal, you know?
Well, it's curious because he talks about how he's always extracted water from things, and now he's somehow extracting life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
soft magic.
I don't know.
You
They
just-
didn't really have to explain it. Wesley
Right.
was in pain. That was basically all that
Yeah.
mattered.
The main point was that he's studying pain through this.
And you can tell by his
Machine.
facial expressions he enjoys
enjoys
inflicting
watching
pain
someone
on
Yeah.
people.
Very much so.
Yes.
Yeah, and him and Humperdinck have all of these weird interactions. Like, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. That's so weird.
Right. Right after Humperdinck's like, you know.
I'm so busy. I have to get married and then kill my wife
Yeah.
and solve this problem and do
and
this.
start a war with the neighboring
Oh,
country.
I can't come down and watch you torture as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I don't think he does like to watch it.
It's one of those things that you're like, oh, you want me to go see a movie? Oh, I gotta wash the dishes and
Yes.
do laundry
Yes.
and sweep the floor.
Yes. That I think it was one of those moments. I don't think he wanted to watch
So it's very relatable.
Yeah.
And so at this point, there's a bunch of stuff happening because we're following, instead of just
it. Like
following
8 people.
Wesley and Buttercup, we're still following them, but they're separated. So
Right.
we're following both of them, and also we get back to Fezzik and Inigo.
Inigo. Yes.
And so there's just a bunch of
And you're watching the behind the scenes that's happening with Humperdinck and Rugen.
yes, so there's like 4 different plots that have just they split before they reconverge later.
Right?
Yes.
Which is how you get, like, a full-length movie that lasts, like, 2 days,
Yeah.
chronologically.
Right.
Well, no,
No,
it's
it's
like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we see like a whole day during the day, and then we kind of skip.
Yeah, then you
between,
skip like
10
like
days.
10 days,
Yeah.
and then the second half of the story happens.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of it, you're left thinking like so much happened, but not much happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, kind of skipping ahead through that, Buttercup tries to convince Humperdinck that she's not going to marry him. She wants to send letters to Wesley. She threatens to kill herself, which is a very interesting subplot that is
Right.
not taken very seriously.
Which is weird. She foreshadows it because whenever she sacrifices herself, when Humperdinck does find him, she mentions that she's already lost him once and something about not being able to bear it again.
Yeah.
Right.
And you kind of think that she's just speaking dramatically, but then you get to the part in the movie where she's saying she's going to like kill herself.
Yeah, and then she actually gets married, and she has the exchange with the older gentleman.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm just,
The king, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
This is the last you're gonna see of me. Oh, that's nice.
She kissed me.
She kissed me.
She kissed me.
So that was a little weird, but it is from 1987, and it was
Yes.
a
Right.
little, just overly. The whole situation was dramatized.
Right.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's almost made to kind of parody traditional fairy tales.
Yeah, it's a little
I think.
satirical.
So, yes.
It's satirical.
Yes.
I would think.
Well, because like what is it? It's the big one, Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
Like they kill themselves.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Keep talking.
I wasn't sure
He
how
had to
the
hit the
restart
record button.
would work.
That's fine. We can cut in after,
Yes.
Yeah.
or she can remake her comment about Romeo and Juliet, just since you stood up like right in the middle of it.
Thanks. I don't remember what I said though.
Yeah,
You're just comparing it
back
to
to Romeo and Juliet.
Their like Romeo and Juliet's reaction to their separation.
Buttercup. Yes.
Right. Yeah, she had a similar kind of reaction to that.
During this part of the movie, I was thinking about Buttercup's like faithfulness.
Yes.
She really, up until the wedding even, was like, nah, he'll come and save me.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was challenged.
She really had high hopes.
During
Even
their spat at the beginning of the movie, he
Yeah.
challenged her faithfulness. It was mentioned how faithful she was.
right.
And then you see it later in the movie.
But yeah, even during the wedding ceremony, that is so ridiculous. They can hear the commotion at the gate, and she says, "Here he comes. This is Wesley."
Yeah.
And Humperdinck's like, "No, I killed him myself. I
Yes.
killed him." And she's like, "Then why is there fear behind your eyes? Like, I don't believe
like,
you, or something. It's him."
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can tell, like, he really is afraid that it might be him, because that's why he's rushing this wedding ceremony along. And so, yeah, that's another one of the ways that Wesley kind of is a type of Christ, because of he's going to come rescue her
Yes.
against all the odds.
Yeah.
He's going to come rescue her.
Well, and like Humperdinck's kind of frustrated because he wanted to manipulate. He picked this commoner that he wanted to manipulate,
Right.
and like regardless of what she thought, regardless of her thinking Wesley was going to come get her or whatever, he was so sure that he was going to get her to trust him. And the whole time leading up to the wedding, she's like, Wesley's coming for me, and like she's not even flustered.
Right.
We should back up to Miracle Max a little bit.
Oh,
Well, we
Miracle
never quite got
We're not.
we're kind of
there
like
yet.
on the
We
hint.
kind of
He's
talked
like
about
next thing.
Yeah.
the wedding, but
Because
we
my next point was to then go to we kind of summarized Buttercup's situation
Yeah.
and what she's doing up to the climax, and now let's jump to Fezzik and Fezzik finding Inigo.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. So they said I was interested. They really got all the details most of the time. Whenever Humperdinck gets up to the top of the cliffs of insanity, he uses his tracking skills,
Yes.
and it's like the loser ran off this way and the winner ran off this way.
Right.
So we know that Inigo ran off, and we
Right.
see him having
Yeah.
run off,
Yeah.
drunk and whatnot.
Yeah, and so he's just drinking in despair because he lost a fight to Wesley, and now that's shattered his identity as a great swordsman because now he doesn't know if he's ready to take on the six-fingered man,
Right.
Count Rugen. And so Fezzik finds him, remotivates him, re-encourages him, nurses him back to health.
Fezzik has found a different job. Like Fezzik's on the brute
Fezzik's on the brute squad,
for the,
right.
for the king or whatever.
But also, apparently, in that, Fezzik has also found out who the six-fingered man is.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Which,
so
like,
he gives Inigo hope and a goal now, like a tangible goal, because it's been 20 years that he's been running around. I have no idea where the six-fingered man is.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he does. He knows exactly where he is, and he just needs to get there.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking with their friendship again. Like Inigo, without the community that Fezzik brings him, is lost and returns right back to wallowing and just being drunk. And also, funnily enough, somehow was a stubborn enough drunk that the people could not get him to leave.
Right.
And they had to go get a brute squad to come get him.
It's
to see
also
where
funny
to go.
because at the very end, Inigo makes a comment to Fezzik when Fezzik finds the horses. It's like, you did something right.
Yeah.
And he's like, I won't let it go to my head. But he's the only reason that
Yes.
the three of them got together
Right.
to then
Yes.
go rescue Buttercup.
Yes.
Right.
Whenever we were being introduced to the three thieves, they're in the middle of the three assassins. I wrote down for Inigo honor, because he's driven by honor and revenge. More revenge than honor, but honor sounds better. And Fezzik is driven probably just by making the money, but like his primary characteristic is his compassion,
Yes.
which is interesting. It does pull the group together.
Yes.
It does. And so he gets the nurse back, and then he realizes he needs more help to break into the castle to get his chance at fighting Count Rugen. And so he decides, I'm going to find the man in black. Because he beat me,
Right.
he can help me.
Right. Which is something, like, Haley and I talk about this a lot. Like, you look at people who are living a life that you want to live, or they're better at you than something, better than you at something.
There you go.
And people have two responses. You know, they're like, ugh, and they're like jealous, or you're like, hey, let me find out what they're doing, or hey, let's see if they'll help me and kind of walk with me so that I can learn how to grow and be better.
Exactly. Or I just let them do the thing that they're better at, and I can stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of one of the things before we watched the movie, when we were talking about it, when all of these people got put into the right position, the things that they accomplished in that little bit of time are amazing. Getting into the castle and all of that, as they each were able to function in what they were doing best.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this weird moment where Inigo prays to his father and trusts him to like guide his sword.
Yeah.
Which is the only really like spiritual thing that happens.
Miracle Max I would consider.
Yes, true.
He's an alchemist. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but that's a form of like witchcraft.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that was weird.
And also, he's a Spaniard, and as we know, like the Spanish are very familial.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which fits his character and everything, and he like trusts his father to guide his sword, and that's how they find Wesley.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
But when they find Wesley, he's mostly dead, having been brutally tortured by not only Count Rugen, but also Humperdinck.
He has at least 51 years of his life drained.
Yes.
It seemed to have killed him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then they go to Miracle Max, which is a great scene. But Miracle Max reveals that he's only mostly dead, and just off screen makes this chocolate,
Giant chocolate.
this chocolate thing that
Chocolate coated. The chocolate coating
Right.
helps it go down.
Yes.
yeah, it's like a spoonful of sugar, according to Mary Poppins. And so it's just this chocolate thing that's supposed to bring him back to life if they wait 15 minutes. Which is humorous because they make the point later that it's only been like 10.
Yes. It has not been all the time.
Yeah. So what if they waited 5 more minutes? Would he have been able to walk like right away?
I don't know.
Like
Who
immediately?
knows, right?
How much? Because also they had that whole time.
Yeah.
It's not like they've had it too and he woke up and then they stormed the castle. They
Right.
waited the rest of the evening
Yeah.
into the night.
Right.
However long that
Well,
was.
supposedly that was only a
Like-
little less than half an hour.
Yeah.
But still, that's still more than 5 minutes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
This is true.
But so they get Miracle. Do you want to make anything? Say
Oh, yeah, your Miracle Max.
Miracle
You said
Max.
something.
Oh no, I just wanted to make sure we didn't forget him because
Yes, he's-
I think his wife. He has a little mini inner struggle there too because Humperdinck fired him, and
Yes.
then his wife is naggy. He is insecure because of that, and his wife is not supportive of him and makes his insecurity worse. But then when he learns that they are going to dethrone Humperdinck or kill him or whatever,
Make him suffer.
Yeah.
Yes.
In some capacity. but
Max
make him
is
suffer.
Max is
Right.
immediately willing to help.
Yes.
So he didn't even have a change of heart. He just, oh
Yeah.
yes, I'll help you make the man suffer.
Yeah,
Right.
they just found the right motive for him.
Yes.
And so
Right.
they get the miracle pill, and it works. It does wake up Wesley, but he can't walk. And so there's a
Yeah.
bunch of the rest of the movie is just like physical bodily gags with Carrie Elwes not being able to walk or do anything. So he's leaning up against a bridge, and his head's all droopy, and
Right.
and like he's just.
So
they
like
momentum in
literally
around.
have to do everything for him.
right. So this person who's stronger and smarter than he's been established as this really
He's stronger,
strong,
faster, and smarter.
skillful,
Yes.
smart person. But then he's just unable to do
He's
any
only
of
the
those things.
smarts now.
Except for the intelligence part. He's unable to do any of those things the whole time they're storming the castle. He's
Right.
almost useless except for the ideas.
An interesting thing, I think that the climax of the film is actually the fight between Rugen and Inigo.
I would agree.
And, But the final battle between Wesley
Well, because everything after that is
and
just
Humperdinck.
like falling action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it's just things being resolved.
Yeah.
But besides Wesley and Humperdinck.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of a formality, and it's a complete battle of wits. He bluffed, and he won by bluffing.
Right.
There was no
Yes.
sword fighting at all
Right.
because he was still, like, not completely
he
alive.
barely
Yes.
manages to stand up.
Yes. But it reminds me of the wedding scene where Humperdinck's like, no, he's dead, and Buttercup's like, why do I see fear behind your eyes?
Right.
So then when Wesley's talking to him about, what is it? To the pain?
To the pain.
He's talking to him about it, and Humperdinck's like, you're bluffing, and my reaction in my head was, then why do I see fear in your eyes?
Right.
Because he was terrified.
Right, yeah. Maybe he's bluffing, but also you thought he was dead, so
Right.
maybe not.
Imagine what's going on in his head. Is he bluffing? Is he bluffing?
I don't know.
He's not supposed to be alive right now.
I
Was he
don't
just
know
so
anything
confident that he's just
anymore.
lying casually in bed? I don't know. I'm concerned. Last I saw him, he was lying unconscious in a bed.
Right.
Now he's lying conscious in a very different bed,
Yes.
talking a lot of smack.
Confidence is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they
So then he just stands up and Humperdinck freaks out.
they storm the castle with no combat, no initial combat because they scare everyone else away.
Bluffs. Just bluffs
They
everywhere.
they bluff and scare everyone away, which is really funny.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
Fezzik was on fire, and they cut between him, like, with fire around him, and a statue of him that obviously wasn't him, but was supposed to be him.
Yeah.
Completely on fire.
Yeah, he's just on
and
fire.
then when he finally comes down from his platform and takes his hood off, he is smoking himself.
Yeah, it's very
Yes, he is.
it's very simple, but still good practical effects because like you can never see his face or his arms when in the wide shots.
Yeah.
Only in
Right.
the tight shots, but they have to be able to set him on fire.
Yes.
And there's no stunt double who's 7'4" like Andre the Giant.
Yeah. Reminder to get a clip of the ROUSs because you need to look at imagine a man inside the mouse. This is so philosophical. Imagine a man inside the mouse. You can see his arms and legs. Just kind of sculpt out the man in the mouse. It's there. And when you get that in your head, it'll change the way you see the scene.
And so really, once they storm the castle, there are two main events that happen.
Yes.
We already talked about Wesley confronting Humperdinck and conquering him in a battle of wits and emotion. But then there's Inigo Montoya.
Man.
Oh, it's Inigo's moment.
It's so good.
And,
Inigo Montoya,
and-
you killed my father, prepare to die.
Yes.
which startles Count Rugen,
Yes.
who has
You can see
been
it.
like fearless and emotionless this whole time.
Right.
Yes.
Suddenly is running in fear.
Yeah, he's suddenly out of control. He's been in
Yes.
control of every situation he's been in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Inigo chases him down, ends up taking a knife to the gut.
And you think it's over, kind
He
of.
thinks it's over.
Yeah.
He thinks it's over. He
Yes.
says, I'm sorry, Father, I failed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's
then-
not over.
I don't know. He like gets a second wind. I don't know.
He says to
Well,
himself the
it's a
thing he's
slow
been
second win
practicing.
because it's such a well choreographed scene.
Yes.
Because Rugen approaches him and goes to stab him, and he deflects to his left shoulder,
Yeah.
and then he deflects to his right bicep,
Yeah.
and then he's up, and he's like, "All right, I got my wind. Oh, well, stun blending real quick." But the whole time, we talked about this briefly, he had his one line that he knew he was going to say. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And that's all he says.
Yes.
Yes. And he says hello at the beginning. So
Yes.
like as he gets
Hello.
louder, he's like,
Man.
hello.
Yes.
He's just
And so it's terrifying.
Yes.
This man is insane, and he's coming to murder you.
yes.
We talked about the action, like on set, the actors doing their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mandy Patinkin and so if you don't know, Mandy Patinkin, who plays Inigo Montoya, he does a wonderful job. I love Mandy Patinkin.
does a great job.
So much. But a little backstory on him, his father had died from cancer in a few years prior to filming for this movie. So when he got into the mindset of Inigo, whose father has been murdered, he got into the mindset of, I'm going to fight and kill the cancer that killed my father. So he got into his acting in that. And when he got to the battle, Haley, you can continue because I talk a lot.
When they got to that battle scene, I can't remember the name of the actor who played Count Rugen, but he was genuinely afraid that Mandy Patinkin was going to come after him to kill him, because he recognized that Mandy Patinkin had gotten so wrapped up in this character and in this scene and the symbolism of it for him. And so he told their fencing instructor, listen, I am throwing out everything you've told us. I'm just defending myself. I really think he's going to try to kill me.
Yes, I think that you can see that. At
You
a few
do. You
different points.
see that emotion from both of them in that scene.
Yeah, right after he gets his wind back and he says, hello, my name is da-da-da a few times, he charges at Rugen, and Rugen's behind a table.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to the different angle and we see Rugen coming over this way, dodging, and he's just like this.
Flailing wildly.
There's some skill to that.
That's a scared man.
Yeah, and then he gets disarmed, and then the emotions just get ramped up because Inigo inflicts the same scars on his face from that
Yes.
Rugen inflicted to him 20 years prior. He inflicts back onto Rugen and asks him, beg for mercy. Promise me anything. Promise me that you'll give me whatever I want.
Yeah.
And so then Rugen responds,
Yeah, sure.
I'll give
Whatever
you
you want,
whatever you want. And then he has that great line that I'm not going to completely quote. I want my father back.
Yep.
Yes.
And then it's
And
over.
then he stabs him and kills him. And then he runs off to go find, to go kind of intervene at the tail end of Inigo, or of Wesley handling Humperdinck.
Yeah.
Right.
So, a thought experiment. Have you ever lied and then, like a long time later, get caught in the lie?
Probably.
Maybe a day or two later, something with consequence though. You lie to someone, and then later you slip up, you get caught in the lie. Right?
I know that it happened when I was a child.
Yes, I'm sure.
Not recently. I
can't think of a specific example, but I certainly have. And if we can think of them, maybe we'll do another special episode.
Right.
This thought experiment.
So you know the feeling though.
Yeah.
This
Like-
your stomach drops.
Oh.
You're like, oh no, I've made a great mistake.
Yeah.
So I always think, because this happens in movies all the time, where you don't kill the kid and then the kid grows up to come back and kill you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Can you imagine the feeling?
Yeah.
Because I see it in Rugen's face, and maybe he's just scared of that actor. But
Yeah, but even when that scene starts, he's
his
like,
character is scared of that character now.
yes, but
Yeah,
when the
at that
scene
point.
starts, he doesn't expect Inigo to actually be able to sword fight. And so he says, like, oh, are you that Spanish brat that I taught a lesson to? Like, he's not really expecting anything significant to happen with that fight for him.
Right.
But he was wrong.
there's
He was
just a lot of moral lessons tucked away here and there.
There is.
I guess that's the nature of a fairy tale.
Leslie says something at some point about life's little quirks when he's explaining the Dread Pirate Roberts thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's something else that kind of runs through the movie.
Well, and Inigo's whole quest is to get revenge, but he makes two comments that express the futility of revenge.
I made a note about that,
Yeah,
Yes.
because when he's talking with the Man in Black, who we don't know as Wesley yet, he talks about how I just took this job with Vicini because I needed money.
Yeah.
The revenge business doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then after he gets his revenge, before they jump out of the castle and escape, he turns to Wesley and says, "I've been chasing this man for so long.
Yes.
What am I gonna
I
do?
don't know what to do with my life.
Who
And
am
so,
I?
and I just think of all the teenagers that we know, all the little kids and the elementary kids that we know who get so caught up on I've been done wrong, I need to retaliate, but what they don't understand is that they're not going to feel better for very long once it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if they spend the rest of their life or the next week, year, decade of their life trying to retaliate and get revenge, they're just going to waste that time.
Yeah.
Right.
And Rugen, surprisingly, even says something to Inigo about having an overdeveloped sense of vengeance.
Yes.
And it's interesting coming from one of the bad guys.
One of the bad guys,
that he even is able to see that.
But you see it in Inigo, because he says, I want my father back. and he kills Rugen, and then he has this moment of like, yes, and then it fades very quickly.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it's this like,
He just walks off stage. Yeah.
yeah, and so he just walks off because, and I wonder if he realized in that moment
I'm
that
not
even
gonna-
though I have accomplished this revenge thing that I have been after for so many years, it doesn't give me what I want. I don't get my father back.
Yeah.
I'm happy that was included. It's kind of muted most of the time, but it is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not many movies deal with that. There's a lot of revenge in movies, in action and horror and sci-fi and every genre. There's revenge, but there's not much of that afterwards. We're like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
My whole purpose for living is now gone.
That would make a good movie. Someone who has just killed someone he's been hunting for 20 years, and then what he does after that.
Like that's the first act.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That'd
I
make
was
a
going to
good
say, I
movie.
mean, The Count of Monte Cristo kind of follows that idea.
I haven't read
A
that.
little
I
bit.
don't know that story.
Basically, that he gets out of prison,
Yeah.
spends all his time seeking revenge, and then towards the end of that realizes this isn't actually fixing anything.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing that would make a good movie is Wesley and Buttercup go off and get married. What do they do now? Because they have...
They obviously have a family because the grandpa is obviously Wesley. Because he says,
Conspiracy theory.
because he says as you wish, as
You're
he
right.
leaves.
No, I know.
He does
you-
say, "As
you
you
are
wish."
kind
So
of blowing my mind.
That's what they were trying to get me
Also-
to figure out. I knew they were trying to get me to know something.
Grandpa is 250 years old. At least. More like 500.
Or
So maybe he isn't Wesley, but maybe
Yes.
Wesley is somewhere in
Because
there.
his dad read it to him, and his dad read it to him.
Maybe he's
Right.
dressed
but
True.
also
No,
the boy's
sorry,
dad
sorry.
is gone.
Yes, I'm
Right.
also
Wondering
There's
about what's happening
no
there.
hint about the dad.
Is he the current Dread Pirate Roberts?
See, that's what I was thinking. The Dread Pirate Robert, because the parallel between I read this book to my son and now I'm going to read it to you, and my father read it to me, directly mirrors the way that the Dread Pirate Roberts
Yes.
continues on the
Yes.
the life.
Except it's missing the dad in the grandfather to grandson,
He's
Right.
Right.
He's
which is
off
interesting.
because
doing
he's
the
currently
thing.
in
Yeah.
the Caribbean,
Which is funny.
being a pirate.
Being the Dread
So
Pirate
yeah,
Roberts.
regardless,
We have digressed so far.
So, concluding thoughts. I think it's been a solid 45 minutes.
Okay.
Concluding thoughts.
There was a thing. Okay, so Wesley, whenever Inigo says, "Who are you?" I think, yeah. When Inigo asks him who he is, he says, "No one of consequence," and he says, "I have to know." I think it's really interesting because "no one of consequence" is both true and not true. Because he's Wesley, so like for us, he's a person of consequence. But also, the only thing we know about Wesley is that he was a farm boy, and now he's a pirate.
Yeah.
So like, he's not anyone that's like royal.
Yeah.
But he
To
is
the-
someone of consequence to the story.
To the viewer
Right.
and to the story, but not to Inigo.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And in
so,
the grand scheme of the world that is
yeah.
Princess Bride, he was the no one of consequence. He was
Yeah.
farmer boy.
So I thought that was a really interesting line that they threw in there.
Yeah.
But then for the princess, she asks him who he is, and he says, "No one to be trifled with," which is like the front end of their like spat thing because
Right.
of all of his feelings.
It's
It's almost like the opposite. Like,
Very interesting.
don't bother. Don't to Inigo. Don't worry about me. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Versus don't cross me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a threat.
Yes.
Right.
I'm nobody versus I'm a threat.
Yes.
I think this was very carefully written as a screenplay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, the author wrote the screenplay.
The book's author was the screenplay.
That
Very nice.
probably helped a lot
Yeah,
because
author wrote the screenplay.
the author is cutting things
That's
that
screenplays, right.
he wants to cut,
Yeah.
and a screenplay writer is going to cut things that he wants to cut. And when you have a like dissonant vision for a work, anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So my final thoughts: Wesley has great hair, and
Mason, I think Mason can pull it off.
Mason could pull off
Well,
Wesley
first I
hair.
have to get a haircut. It's been like
Let's do it. You and I. We'll
9
get haircuts.
months.
I mean, I can't pull off Wesley. 'Cause my hair's way too curly.
You
but
could be Inigo.
there you go. You just need a tan.
who knows?
So-
Maybe a little more Hispanic. Not Hispanic, Spanish. There's a difference. Also, the quote, "Death cannot stop true love, it only slows it down a little bit." I think that's the thesis of the movie, and I think that it is a sneaky gospel.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I'm going to stick with, sneaky gospels, because
Yeah, I agree. I like it.
because people get on to something compelling and they don't realize that what they have found compelling is an element of the most compelling thing in the universe. So anyway,
Yeah, everyone likes a comeback story.
Yes. Well, and so we asked earlier, what is true love? And in the movie, true love is this romantic thing, but we all know true love to be Jesus giving up his life for us and coming back to life and rescuing us.
Yeah.
And so sneaky gospel is good. I like sneaky gospel.
Yeah.
One thing that I would point out, so during Inigo and Wesley's fight, there's this point where Wesley is about to beat Inigo, and Inigo says, I admit you're better than I am, but he's smiling. And Wesley says, well, then why are you smiling? And Inigo says, because I know something you do not know. And it turns out that something was just that he was not left-handed. But I think that for us in our lives, we carry a joy with us in the midst of all the craziness of life, because we know something that maybe not everybody knows, and that's Jesus.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, comment on
That's
this.
fun.
They both should, if they are both competent swordsmen, they should have known that each other was right-handed. Because right-handed people carry their swords on their left hip.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So like you should have just been able to look at least definitely Inigo because he still had his sheath on his belt.
It was
Yeah.
just,
Yes.
it's just by virtue of
It's good.
it's just for the banter. I think
Yes.
they just
It
were
is.
having fun with it.
Yeah.
But and which
Yeah.
made for a good exchange because then you had the same reveal with Wesley.
Right,
Like
yeah.
I'm also not left-handed.
It's one of
Yeah.
the best
Ah,
moments. Oh man.
it's great.
Yeah, I really like the movie, and I think all of us here agree it's great. There are lots of good pithy quotes, great memeable content, great moral messages. There are a few weird things here and there.
Yeah.
The alchemy witchcraft from the Miracle Max,
Right.
the threat, the unaddressed threat of suicide, but the idea of true love winning in the end is a theme that stands the test of time.
Yes.
Everybody loves a true love story.
Yes.
And as Haley said, the truest love story is Jesus being born as a baby, living a perfect life, dying for our sins, and rising again so that we could be reunited with God in a perfect relationship. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below on the movie. If you have any more questions about it, if you have any ideas for stuff we should cover in the podcast, let us know down there as well. Follow us all on social media. It's all going to be down in the description. And this has been Brandon, Haley, Mason, and Carmela with Fish Money, and we will see you guys in the next episode. See ya!
Bye, guys. Have fun storming the castle.